Continuing the Get to Know Your Draft Picks week on Locked On, Jordan Burch, DuckTales, woo, let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Listen, it's my show. If I want to do a DuckTales open, I'm going to do it. I don't care. That's one of the best openings in the history of TV. And yeah, I'm 41, so I grew up with it. Anyways, draft picks week, get to know him, Walter Nolan yesterday, Ohio State kids on Monday. I'm really excited for this one because this is one of the more unknown is the wrong way to say it, but unfamiliar picks for people who are, not familiar with Oregon Duck football. Luckily for us on the Locked On Podcast Network, we've got dudes and ladies everywhere who know a lot of stuff. Spencer McLaughlin, Locked On Ducks, Locked On College Football, joins me. Dude, thank you.
Yes, you are most welcome. I am always here to talk about #ProDucks. I am dismayed as a Seahawks fan that he goes to a team I don't want to win football games, but that was a theme for Oregon's draft class in 2025.
Yeah, damn it. And with the DuckTales thing, does that get old?
This is the first time I've heard it.
Prevalent?
First time I've ever heard it in a podcast setting, and I'm going to date myself a little bit here. Alex, I'm not 100% familiar with what you're even referring to.
DuckTales was a TV show growing up. It was three ducks and their uncle was super rich and they just had a good time. I'm gonna send you the YouTube clip of the intro. It's a banger.
Okay. Fantastic.
Okay, now we have 20 minutes to talk about football instead of 23. Worth it. Okay, so Jordan Burch, edge rusher, Oregon, 3rd round pick. I'm going to ask this in kind of a different way because he's coming into a very stable ecosystem, one that was devoid of that 4 or 5 years ago. So he's coming into a very good spot. They brought in Josh Sweat, Baron Browning. They traded from Denver last year midseason. They've got vets everywhere. They've got Nick Rallis, who's a defensive coordinator. He's going to be a head coach in the next couple of years, and Jonathan Gannon leading the charge. If the ecosystem is right, can you look at this pick as an absolute 3rd-round steal for the Cardinals?
Yeah, I think the maximum value on Jordan Burch is probably early 2nd round. I think that's the highest that I expected him to go.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sure back on my show a while ago, I said Burch would probably be a third round pick. So I'll toot my own horn a little bit on that front. And the reason that I think he has early 2nd round potential value is the versatility. I think that's his best trait. You can line him up at edge. You can line him up on the interior if you want. Oregon used him in a lot of different ways in college, but he is 6'5", 290. He does not move like a guy who is 6'5", 290. He moves like someone who is way, way lighter on his feet, but the versatility is what you have. So I think if you're the Cardinals, and obviously you know the roster a lot better than I do, you're looking at this pick saying, hey, we might have just found our starting defensive end, but we could also throw him over here in this package, or we could play half of his snaps on the interior and half of his snaps on at the edge spot. He reminds me a little bit of another great Oregon defensive lineman, DeForest Buckner, who I think is 6'7", and also in that like 260, 280. DeForest Buckner was a freak. He was the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year in 2015. But I think about him in relation to Burch because they can play inside and out, and they can make an impact from both. And quite frankly, in the NFL, I don't know where Burch primarily makes his biggest impact. I could see him being someone who you put in, what I call for Oregon, the NASCAR package, where you just have kind of speed all over the place, and Burch is one of your interior guys. And, well, good luck if you're a guard moving your feet with someone who's used to having to get around offensive tackles who are typically much more nimble. So the balance, I think he's definitely more of a power rusher than a speed rusher, which is why he can play on the inside. But I just think that the versatility makes this a really, really valuable pick and then the physical traits are just hard to deny.
So that's great. So he can do a bunch of different things. The thing, and I'm going to speak for a lot of Cardinals fans here. I've been doing this in the media for 15 years now. This is something that scares Cardinals fans for a couple of reasons. It's kind of Stockholm syndrome-y. Isaiah Simmons, Hassan Reddick, a bunch of guys that, and I know that they're not direct comps by any stretch, but it's like, oh, this guy can do a bunch of different things. Can Jordan Burch do anything better than the other thing, or is he truly like a switch hitter in baseball where he hits 275 from both sides of the plate?
I think he's definitely better coming off of the edge. I think that's where he likely makes the biggest impact. I was just thinking as you were asking that question whether he's better against the run or against the pass. I'll look in a second to see what Pro Football Focus has to say, but I can think off the top of my head times where he controlled the game for Oregon's defense doing both or made impact plays. If you want to feel really good about the Jordan Burch situation, figure out how you can go watch the extended highlights might be enough on YouTube, but Oregon UCLA this past year down at the Rose Bowl. And it's insane that UCLA plays at the greatest setting in college football for their home games, but because they're just so average. But hey, they have Nico now, so it's fun. Anyway, the drive, I forget, it was earlier in the game, maybe like late first, early second quarter. Jordan Burch single-handedly ended UCLA's offensive possession. That is not an exaggeration. He in a 3-play stretch, I think it was tackle for loss, sack, quarterback pressure. That's peak Jordan Burch. Now, I think the biggest knock on him would be consistency. Okay. But overall, like this is a guy who has such high-end athletic ability for someone of his size. I don't think he's someone you want to drop into coverage. Like he's definitely going to make his biggest plays in the trenches, but the ability to go out and do that when he was on, go watch the Washington game too. Oregon just tormented Washington's offensive line this year for 10 sacks, and Burch was just an unstoppable force. So he did get dinged up this past year and missed a few games. I think that's another kind of thing to keep your eye on with regards to him as well. But you keep him healthy, you've got him fully engaged. This is a high impact sort of guy.
Jeez, man. I mean, the thing that Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon et al. Look for, and I'm going to give you some adjectives, and you tell me what percentage he fills. And I would assume it's close to 100 because they wouldn't have drafted him otherwise. Violent pressures at the quarterback. Violent 100. Is something that is,
yes.
That's Jonathan Gannon's probably favorite word to use, being violent.
That's why he drafted Jordan Burch then.
Okay.
Violence is the word. Like his best ability, power rush. Just he can bull rush a tackle back into the lap of the quarterback. Violence is the perfect word.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because just a little insight into the Cardinals. So their defense was devoid of talent, real talent in the front at all. They had no pass rush last year, and they still finished 15th in total team defense. And it's something that and then you add Josh Sweat, you add Dalvin Tomlinson, you add Calais Campbell, which will make any young pass rusher's job easier if he does line up off the edge. If you can collapse the pocket with Walter Nolan, who was looked to be the best defensive lineman in football, went down at 16. I'm a huge ecosystem and culture fit guy now, because now I see what an actual stable one looks like with the Cardinals after being, again, devoid of that for decades and decades. When they drafted, he was the first guy that I went right to YouTube for right after. And everything that you said so far is even better than what I saw. What I saw, I was super excited for. So I want to get to the weaknesses next, but bull rush, violent, Cardinals dude, coachable. Are there any things that are you know what? Let's pause. I want to ask you that in the next segment, just in case there are any. Spencer McLaughlin, Locked on Ducks, Locked on College Football. His Locked on College Football peppered out there a little bit. Well, you can hear it seeped out, and that's good. I like it. We'll talk about the weaknesses if there are any next. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked on Cardinals is brought to you by our friends over at Skylight Calendar. So this is a newer sponsor of ours, and I've looked at their stuff, and oh boy, I'm getting one. Because listen, you got sticky notes, you've got your calendars everywhere. But the Skylight Calendar is here to bring clarity to the chaos and help families stay organized without the stress. The sleek digital display syncs with your existing calendars, Google, Apple, Outlook, and more, making it simple to track appointments, practices, dinners, reminders, booking times to do, locked on college football, locked on NFL crossovers. It helps with that also. Right now, Skylight is offering our listeners $30 off their 15-inch calendars by going to skylightcal.com/NFL. Go to skylightcal.com/lockedonNFL for $30 off your 15-inch calendar. That's skylightcal.com/NFL. I'm so jacked up. Like, I wish week 1 was tomorrow. It's one of those things. It's just, luckily now with NIL for college and the NFL's figured out a 24/7 news cycle, 365 days a year. It's like, you don't have to just come up with things or wait for articles you don't agree with to talk about. Like, there's always organic stuff that you can talk about. It's making while doing this every day, we make it look easier than what it is. It doesn't mean that it's not easier than what it once was. And I think that these crossovers, this is awesome getting to connect. And my listeners know that I don't edit these. I know how to edit video. I can do it, but I'd rather just have the organic conversation. Like the DuckTales thing, I don't care. I wasn't prepared to talk about that, but I'm leaving it in.
Love it.
Telling a 22-year-old, however the hell old you are, about DuckTales. What the hell are we doing here? You think that I would have done that if I knew that was a potential outcome? Come on, guys. Jordan Burch, 6'5", almost 300 pounds, can move a lot quicker than that. Can play on the edge, can play interior. It seems more of a Darius Robinson situation for the Cardinals than an Isaiah Simmons. Let's draft this guy, and they'll figure it out. They'll put him with 8 position groups during camp and just figure it out. It seems like this is much more regimented. It's 1 or 2 of things, and he can do both at somewhat efficient level. Now, weaknesses, coachability. Has this ever come up to be some sort of weakness, or is he a team dude, yes sir kind of guy?
I've never heard of him having any problems. I will say, if you talk to the school he started at coming out of high school, South Carolina, I don't think they'd say he was a problem guy ever in the locker room. That's not been the report. He did underachieve at South Carolina. Like, he transferred to Oregon. This is a conversation I have particularly on Twitter all of the time about whether or not Oregon actually develops their own guys. Newsflash, they do. But Jordan Burch is an example of that in the transfer sense. And also, thank goodness for NIL, or Burch probably comes out of the NFL draft last year. But when you have NIL and guys can make real money to stay in college, hey, college football is fun. It turns out. And if you can make real money doing it, which I'm sure Burch did this past year as he should have, then yeah, of course guys are going to do that. But he was a big-time recruit coming out of high school. Dan Lanning recruited him to Georgia originally. He went to South Carolina. Lanning kept the relationship alive, 2 years with the Gamecocks, and then he transfers over to Oregon, and he was making an impact from the moment he showed up on campus. And certainly, and I think this is something that, every defensive lineman goes through. Like, there will be spurts, instances where you feel like, where is he? Like, is he on the? Oh yeah, he's out there. No, he is. So there has been kind of an all or nothing sort of feel with him at times, but that never to me came off, nor did I ever hear anything with regards to coachability. Like, I think this is a guy who got significantly better as a football player. Would he have been drafted, regardless, just because he's 6'5", 290 and can move? Yeah, sure. Would he have been drafted in the 3rd round? No, I don't think so. I really don't. So I think that at Oregon, he just showed up, worked hard, got better, made himself into a 3rd round pick. And have you seen the fake punt?
I have not.
Oh, Alex. Oh, you haven't even seen the best. You haven't seen the best part.
Okay.
So
I'll YouTube it after.
For all the Locked On Cardinals listeners and viewers out there, if you really want to get excited about this guy, just keep in mind he's 290 pounds. 290 pounds. Go YouTube Oregon fake punt against Maryland. You're going to have a whale of a time thinking about what he can do for your football team over the next several months. Because I'm surprised you hadn't. I thought your excitement was rooted in the fake punt, because his athleticism just goes on full display. He runs for like 45 yards on a fake punt. He stiff arms a guy. He jukes a defender. Like, it's incredible what he does on the play for someone who is as big as he is. And he also forced a touchdown in that game. He stripped a quarterback, and then Oregon scooped and scored and ran it for 50 yards. So, like, this is a guy who athletically was a 5-star coming out of high school for a reason. There are just not that many people that are built like him. And there were never off the field problems. We're talking weaknesses. He's not a speed rusher. When he's getting to the quarterback, I think his two kind of most patented moves, one against the pass, one against the run, that I saw during his 2 seasons with the Ducks, the bull rush at the quarterback. When he gets the proper leverage and the right get off, you better not have sent a tight end over there or a running back to chip. That's not going to go very well. And offensive tackles, certainly they're a lot better in the NFL, but they're going to have a difficult time. So that's, I think, his most kind of iconic move, if you want to look at it that way. The second thing, though, is the straight arm in run defense. And his ability to set the edge and not let running backs get outside of him. There's one play in particular, 2023 against Utah. It's like a 3rd and 2, and he did this several times. I just remember this one specifically because I watched it live and thought, oh, look, he did it again. And he did this a bunch while he was in college. His ability to understand I'm setting the edge here in run defense and just kind of stiff arm a tackle and just kind of hold him off, running backs trying to bounce. Nope, shed the tackle, go and make the play. He did it several times throughout the course of his career. So that's kind of where I think he thrives the most. You're not going to see him. He doesn't have bend. This is not Kayvon Thibodeau, who he was known for his speed rush and, has that kind of dip move, which if you're looking for an edge rusher next year, by the way, Mateo Uyunglele from Oregon will be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, as he should be. He just led the Big Ten in sacks as a true sophomore. He's a beast. And that's not what Jordan Burch brings to the table. That's not what he, is about. It's not the kind of player that he is, but he does a lot of things well. But I think a potential weakness is, does he have an array of pass rush moves to consistently be a starting defensive end that pressures the quarterback a lot? I think that'd be my biggest question, because every time in my mind I picture him getting after a quarterback, he's just bull rushing a guy. He can do that sometimes, but the best edge rushers are able to do a bit of everything. So I think that's where he could still improve. And going back to your original question about the coachability thing, before I got on this tangent, no issues whatsoever.
That's awesome. No, that's great. You answered the other 3 questions I was going to ask. So it saves me having to have to put a Ludens in after. So no, we're good. I mean, I did want to mention one thing before we get to, can he be an impact maker day one? Because I think it's really nuanced with these guys and the fit and the coaching and the actual opportunity they'll get, the snaps they'll get, depending on the position group they get drafted to with the respective team. The NAL thing is fascinating. I spoke with Steve Willis from Locked On Ole Miss yesterday about Walter Nolan, who transferred from Texas A&M, where all the issues were happening, and then transferred to Ole Miss, and there were no issues. It seems like that's kind of the same thing that's going on here, where the sins of the last organization, they're organizations now, they're not colleges. With NIL, it's like the beautiful thing is you can get a fresh start irrespective of the money or not money. You can be a completely different person in a completely stable organization. And Dan Lanning is a huge, jump up from what they're doing in South Carolina. So is that something that can be future paced into the NFL to another stable organization? Or is this something that needs to be monitored with the underperformance that he had when he was even more of a quote unquote kid than he is now, and in the ripe old age of his early 20s?
Yeah, I think that the concern should be pretty minimal in that regard, because you're right, college sports are becoming more and more like pro sports. It's not, my dad's best friend played football at Oregon back in the 80s when they were there. It's a lot different now. Not just that Oregon's nationally relevant. Back then they were not very good, but now, of course, they won 13 games last year in Oregon and the Big Ten, and Oregon fans look around going, that was not what we were hoping for. Like that, and again, I get it, because I kind of feel the same way. But like a lot of things have changed in a big way. That is not just a narrative that some of you NFL fans out there have just heard. I'm sure plenty of you have college teams and follow this stuff. And I work in college sports outside of Locked On as well. You cannot understate the impact that all of these things have had. And in some ways, it does require guys to mature quicker than maybe they had to previously. And on the other hand, there are guys that don't handle it as well and get into really messy situations. You look at a guy like Jaden Rashad, who was a borderline 5-star quarterback coming out of high school. He commits to Miami. He flips to Florida. He signs with Florida. Then, because of an NIL dispute with the collective, because NIL was rolled out so poorly, he then requests to be released from his national letter of intent from Florida, which he was, and he wound up going to signing with Arizona State. He got hurt, but was maybe going to be a starter, competed his second year, lost the job, transferred to Georgia, didn't play. Now he's at Sacramento State. And this all stems from he went to Florida, was promised a bunch of NIL money, and then it turned out it didn't really have it. So I don't think South Carolina is some poorly run organization football-wise, and I'm not here to crap on them. I think Oregon has a better staff, a better situation overall. There were never any problems with Jordan Burch while he was a Duck. He was just an impactful player who, when he wasn't on the field, Oregon fans were sitting around waiting. I was talking on my show, when does he get back on the field? So that's another, if you want to call it a weakness or a question mark that I kind of mentioned earlier. Yeah. He's been dinged up a little, so you got to keep him on the field. If you do, I think you have an impact guy.
Sweet. We're going to wrap this up next segment, a couple minutes. I just want to get a little bit more insight into, if you think he could be a day one starter, if this is going to take a little bit more time, with camp and everything. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. We'll wrap this up next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. If you've watched the NBA playoffs over the last couple days and you think you know who's going to win, cool. Go buy a lottery ticket. NBA playoffs are in full swing. Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a major breakout player or Aaron Gordon 3 in the corner, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Spencer McLaughlin, Locked On Ducks, Locked On College Football, joins me here during the Get to Know Your late 80s, early 90s cartoons.
We'll get there. Fun. I was not around in the late 80s.
I'll watch a fake punt. You watch DuckTales.
Done deal.
What the hell are we doing here? See, I really should edit these things, but it's not. We've been doing it for so long, like every day or so at this point. I'm not embarrassed by anything. So, couple things. One thing, the Jordan Burch is going to have a shock and awe, not like shock and excitement, shock and awe moment. He's going from the Shangri-La of locker rooms to not. Like, this is like, it's like he's going from the NFL to college. Like,
which doesn't make any sense.
I know.
It doesn't make sense. Did you see Javon Holland's comments about that recently?
I didn't.
Javon Holland, former Oregon safety, who was a second-round pick of the Dolphins, and I believe is now with the Giants. He was getting interviewed on some podcast and was asked about going from Oregon to the NFL, and he got to Miami and went to the locker room and was like, "This is it? Like, what the hell is this? Like, yeah, I just came from college. It was way better than this."
Yeah. I mean, the film like Cocoon that's one of the weirdest anomalies in the history of sport. It's not weird, it makes sense, but it's just like, if Michael Jordan didn't happen, none of that would have. It's the weirdest. Like, I'm sure it would have happened eventually, but like it's just a weird.
It's strange that you can downgrade. I mean, it goes back to athletic departments being nonprofits, so the extra money that they have from football, they've got to just invest it in the campus or the athletics program. They can't just, save it, give it to an owner, or, give their employees a raise or anything like. I mean, I guess technically they could do that, but like they have all this money, they can't just hold it in reserve. They have to spend it somewhere, whether that's on other sports or facilities or anything like that. I just find that to be wild because like there's so much money in the NFL. Like, guys, it's a couple $1,000,000 for a nice locker room. What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge proponent of making a strength even more of a strength. And through the draft and free agency, the Cardinals have done that, and that's all they do with their locker room out there in I mean, I feel like there should be spaceships there at this point.
Yeah, there
It's,
should be. And the Cardinals were the ones who had the story about making players pay for food they took from the facility.
That was a long time ago. Derek Anderson, that was a long time ago. Okay. And it hasn't gotten exponentially better, but after the most recent grades came out, incredibly timing-wise, that day they reported that there was going to be a new facility that was going to be built in the next couple of years, and plans were underway. It's like hooey fish. I will not swear on this show. That's the only thing I don't do. I will not swear. I use my grandmother's old swearing words, and hooey fish is one of them. So, impact maker day one. If you see him as third on the depth chart come week one, would you be more surprised if he was getting 30 or 40% of the snaps week one, or third on the depth chart week one?
Who are the other edge rushers in the room?
Josh Sweat, Baron Browning, BJ Ojolari is coming back after being injured twice.
You guys got BJ Ojolari?
Sorry?
You guys got BJ Ojolari?
Yeah, a couple years ago. He hasn't played. He played a handful of games 2 years ago and was out for the entirety of last season.
Yeah, I haven't heard his name in quite a while. I mean, he's not better than Josh Sweat. Right. Definitely not. I'd probably say like he's on the 2 deep. I would expect typically with a guy drafted that high, he's going to have a chance. I don't think he's starting opposite Josh Sweat his first year. Yeah. I don't. I think there's still, as I mentioned earlier, a rawness to his game where high-end physical traits. 6'5", 290, moves, powerful, spent 4 years in college, 4 years in a weight room. Like, dude has still, got some refinement to his game that's required that I think keeps him off the field early on. I'd be surprised if you're looking around week 6 and you're like, is he only getting 5 snaps a game? I don't see that. So depending on how you want to define impact, I think he's on the field this year for the Cardinals. I don't think he comes in and is just, Josh Sweat's equal on the other end right away, as much as I like him.
I mean, I allude to the sales world where it's like a lot of companies want people with good personalities and have no experience whatsoever so they can mold them into what they want. And this is kind of the NFL version of that, where it's like, okay, you're not a jerk. You're a team player. You're an Adonis. We can work with that, kind of thing. And obviously he's shown things too. It's not like he's just built in a lab and hasn't played football before. So I think that's great. And the best part about Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rallis' defense is they're wizard-like, where it's like, if you're good at something, they're going to put you in a position to only do that thing in a situation where the team needs it badly. And I think the bull rushing is something that is becoming a trend with the players the Cardinals bring in on the front over the last couple of years. And I'm wildly excited about this. Spencer, tell people where they can find you.
Locked On Ducks, Locked On College Football, Monday through Friday, all year round on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm on Twitter at @SMcLaughlinCFB. If you ever want to send me a note, tell me I'm great, tell me I suck. I don't care. I think it's fun either way.
Love that, dude. Thanks. This has been fun. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.